of the fightings that took place here. After the disintegration of the Roman Empire, 3 states were formed from the territory of Dacia: Wallachia, Moldova, and Transylvania. And Transylvania was conquered by the Huns of Asia, who will rule it for about 900 years, although the Romanians will remain the majority in this territory. Over the years, Saxon populations from the west of Rhine, so from Germany, on the Moselle, will be colonized here. So Transylvania has a very big German influence, and you can see it in the old buildings and churches and fortified churches. And now you have Vlad Țepeș. So this is the historical character that Dracula was based on. He is known abroad as Dracula, and he became famous because he was very, very cruel, and he had all kinds of methods of punishment for people that did bad things. And Mihai Viteazul was the first one that united the Romanian provinces in 1600s, but only for 1 year. And another big ruler was Ștefan cel Mare, but in Moldova, and people loved him very much, and he ruled the country for nearly 50 years. And they were like a buffer zone for Europe because the Turkish people, the Turkish armies kept coming. In 1859, Moldova and Wallachia were united, and Carol of Hohenzollern was taken from Germany to the throne of the country. And in 1881, Romanians became a kingdom. So Romanian politicians decided to pick somebody from the outside because they thought that this will improve the country, which it really happened. After the Great War, in which Romania fought on the side of the Triple Entente, Transylvania returned to be part of Romania, and you have here one of the kings of Romania called Ferdinand and his wife, Queen Mary. Queen Mary was actually the niece of Queen Victoria. Her father was the second son of Queen Victoria, so she was British. During the Second World War, Romania was ruled by King Mihai, and in 1940... Sorry. Yes. Isn't changing?
Exactly,
I don't know.
Exactly. It's on slide 2 now. Sorry, slide 3.
The same slide. Same slide.
I don't know.
Yeah, third slide.
I stop sharing and share it again. I don't know. So it's something from my computer, I think, because it's blocked. Just
we still see Romania borders to west with Hungary and Serbia.
Oh, okay. So it's something. It's stuck here. Just a moment. I don't know what is happening. Okay, if you meanwhile, I don't know, till I try to fix it, you can, if you have questions, because Anna asked me to think about taboos in Romania, or I don't know, things that you shouldn't do, and I thought about, and the first thing that came to my mind, it was like, don't ask Romanians about Dracula, because they overreact, because this was character invented by a writer, doesn't really have a tradition in Romanian folklore, so we don't have vampires in the Romanian folklore, so it's something from the outside. And when you ask a Romanian about Dracula, they will definitely try to tell you that, this is not true, and overreact about it. But when I think about taboos, I don't know. I don't think there are really taboos in Romania. I think people are, if you come as a visitor, I think people are friendly and they are pretty open to different cultures. So, yes, I'm trying to do this, but I don't know. stuck. Do you have any questions so far? Can you see anything now? Okay. Yeah, I've got 4. Yes. Yes. Okay, so after the second, can you see my slides now? Okay, so after the Second World War, Romania was ruled by King Mihai, and in 1946 the communist regime was established. They falsified the elections, and in December 1947 King Mihai was forced to abdicate and leave Romania. And from now on, for 50 years, Romania was ruled by the communists. In the first part of the communist regime, there were prisons where those who were considered opponents of the regime were exterminated or tortured. And the most famous prison was that of Pitești, the city where I live in. And the torture methods applied were known as the Pitești phenomenon. And in December 1989, a revolt against the communist regime broke out in the largest cities of Romania, causing about 1,000 deaths. And on Christmas Day, President Ceausescu and his wife were executed by a firing squad. And now I will show you some pictures from Bucharest. Can you see them? So the largest city is Bucharest and the capital. And I think that if you visit Romania, it would be the first choice for people to visit it. It was very famous in the period of the 2 world wars because of its architecture, and it was called the Little Paris back then. Its architecture is a mix of historical, interbellum and Art Deco and communist and modern time architecture, so it's kind of eclectic style, not a certain style. And you have here some pictures of Bucharest. And if you see up on the right, I don't know if you have in your country something like this. It's called a village museum. So there is an open air museum where you can find like countries from small houses, wooden houses from the countryside, old houses and churches. And they are very, very charming. And you can find village museums in Romania in all the big cities. Now I will show you pictures from a city in Transylvania. It's called Brașov. It has a historical part, and if you look closely at it, it kind of looks like German cities. And you have up there on the left, you have a Gothic church. It's called the Black Church. And here you have pictures from Constanța. Constanța is a city that is close to the seaside, and it was a port, and it is a port, and it's one of the oldest cities in Romania. It was a Greek place in the beginning, and after that it was conquered by Romans. So you can also find Roman relics. And then it was dominated by Italian merchants, and after that it suffered kind of a decline and under the Ottoman rule. But there are also Jews here and Polish people, and it's kind of a mixture of cultures. You can see here different places, like up on the left there is the old synagogue, and this is the Genovese light fire up on the right, and down on the left there is a Catholic church and Roma ruins, and down on the right there is a Romanian Orthodox church. I think it's a very charming city, and I would recommend you to go and visit it. Constanța is called. Sibiu is another very interesting city from Transylvania. And the roofs of the houses are very interesting because they've got like small eyes. You see here pictures from Sibiu. Most of the pictures were taken by myself. And here is Timișoara. Timișoara is in the northwest of west of Romania, and it was the city where the Romanian Revolution started in 1989. And this one is a very small medieval fortress on a hill. It's called Sighișoara, and it's very, very charming. Now, the most important Romanian poet is Mihai Eminescu. It's something like Shakespeare is for the British culture. So Romanian language kind of became very rich with his poems and poetry. And here you have Constantin Brâncuș, who was Romanian sculptor, very famous. He lived most of his life in Paris. And Smaranda Braescu was the first female skydiver in Romania. And you see her in the picture wearing a traditional clothes, traditional Romanian clothes. They are called ia in Romanian. And I went to Bucharest to see the History Museum. And here in the picture, you have exactly her blouse. Ana Aslan was a Romanian specialist in gerontology, and she's very famous worldwide. And she created an institute of geriatrics. And when she lived, many famous people came to have treatments here, like Charles de Gaulle, Kennedy, Marlene Dietrich, Charlie Chaplin. Here you have the first female architect in Romania. Her name was Maria Virginia Andreescu. And here you have George Enescu, who is the best known composer, Romanian composer. And his most known work of art is the Rapsodia Română, the Romanian Rhapsody, which symphonical classical work that has a lot of Romanian folklore influence in it. Here, Eugen Ionescu is known outside as Eugene Ionescu. He was Romanian, but he wrote in French, and he's the creator of Theater of the Absurd. Dinu Lipati was the most famous Romanian pianist, and Maria Tănase was the Romanian folk music and cabaret theater artist. She had a very interesting voice, and probably you know Ina because she's famous worldwide. She's a pop singer. And Nadia Comaneci was the first gymnast that took a 10 in the history of gymnastics. And Simona Halep, you probably know her because she's very famous. She's a Romanian tennis player. I'm not going to read everything. Now I'll show you some Romanian traditional food. Romanian food has, in a way, so Eastern Romanian food is in a way similar. And up on the left, you have sarmale, which are like stuffed cabbage. It's made with, it's got meat inside. And mămăliga is kind of Italian polenta. And for example, salata de vinete is something that Turkish people, I think, have. Some of the foods you find here, you can also find in Turkey, I think, because we have their influence too. And these are other Romanian foods. The one that is up on the right is a traditional Easter sweet. It's got cheese inside. It's called pască. And down in the middle, you have something like sweet bread. It's similar to the Italian panettone, and it's made for Christmas and Easter. And up on the right, that thing called drob is made of meat, and it's inside. It's a traditional Easter food. And down on the left, it's made of beans. It's something made of beans. And here you have some examples of Romanian traditional costumes and houses. And down on the left, you have the Queen. We have Queen Mary of Romania. She used to like very much traditional clothes. And I went to Bucharest to visit Palace Elisabeta, and I really saw this costume for real and really liked it. And in the end, I will show you my picture. And this is the costume that my great-grandmother and grandmother had. And my grandmother gave it to me, and it's very old, and I like it very much. And I wear it for special occasions like weddings, Christmas, and okay. So my presentation is ready. If you have any questions. Mm-hmm. Well, I think he was inspired by a ruler called Vlad Tepes that he's known in history that he was very cruel, but he was cruel to bad people, and the punishments he gave were like kind of extreme. And he had an alliance with the Austrians, and they gave him this title that is called Dracula. And that's how he remained in history, Dracula. But then there was I think the Irish writer Bram Stoker that wrote the novel Dracula that happens in Transylvania. I don't think he knew something about Vlad Tepes. But I don't know. There is this castle in a town in Romania called Bran, and this is the place where foreigners come and visit. It's a medieval castle, but there's no other proof of Dracula. Okay. If you have a vampire, yes, to eat. Mhm, 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 mhm. Yes, that ruler, he was very cruel, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's very unlike for Romania because people are not like this. Um, Romania has a very big traditional. The population is usually traditional, and they are very like kind and rulers in history here. There was a culture that lived on defending themselves. So I think it doesn't really have a historical base, this story with Dracula. Mm-hmm. Really? I didn't know that. Uh-huh. Well, actually, Ina doesn't really sing in Romanian. She sings mostly in English and Spanish, and she's very fluent in English. I think she's just talented at languages. She's very fluent in English and Spanish too. Yeah, yeah. And if you, I don't know, if you if you come to Romania, I would recommend you to visit, first of all, to visit Transylvania. And people usually go to Bucharest, the capital, and after that they go to Brasov, which is a city in Transylvania, yes, and Bran, where you can see Dracula Castle. Um, mhm, mhm. But I also think that small villages are very, very interesting. But if you don't have the chance to see small villages, you can go to big cities where you can see village museums. I told you they are open air museums, and you see small houses, wooden houses. They are very interesting, and they are very old. And it's like I don't know, and the fact that it's in open air, it's really beautiful, and it gives you a sense of peace, and I love that. But there are also mountain trails and geographical parks, and I think the mountains are really, really cool if you want to see nature. I don't know, nature trails. Um, but if you come and if you hire a car, you should pay attention because the roads aren't really good. There are places where there are lots of holes in the roads. So you should pay attention to this. Yes. And you should also take into account that not all of the people speak English here. Most of the people, they have a basic level of English, but not. If you go to small places, you need to have, I don't know, an app or a dictionary to help you. But if you don't have problems, you can. Yes, I think it's like everywhere in Europe. There's no difference.
Okay, Anna, may I
Okay.
ask something?
Sure.
Hi, Mickey. I'm
Hi.
Mickey from
Hello.
Indonesia. So that Dracula, I mean, hotel in Transylvania, that story is just fiction.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
thank you
fiction.
so much.
So
Only that
you're asking
question.
my opinion? Yes, it's fiction. It's fiction. That's
Okay,
yes.
I love it.
Uh, it's fiction. I told you, and but I don't know. Many people. I think it's good for tourism in general. So people don't really complain because I think Bran, the place where Dracula's castle is, I think it's the top place to visit in Romania. So I don't know.
I have a question as well. Can I ask?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so my question is that how is the cost of living over there? For example, if someone is want to come in your country and want to be a nationalist over there, so what would be the cost?
Are you asking me about
The
rent
country.
or
Yeah,
yes?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Well, in Bucharest, I think it's kind of it's like, for example, in my city, if you which is a smaller one, if you rent let's say a 3-room apartment, it will be like 300 euros a month or 350 euros a month, and a studio it will be like maybe 200 euros or 100 euros a month. But
So
in okay,
Mhm.
but in
Does
bigger
it,
cities like Bucharest, I think it's more expensive, a little bit, a little
Mhm.
bit. And if you buy a place, for example, it's 1,000 euros a meter, a square meter.
Square meter, okay.
Yes, and it's the same here as in Bucharest. I've noticed.
So do you think that a stranger can buy a land in your country? Is it
Yes.
easy?
Yes, I don't think there's a big. I don't know. I think there can be. They can because there are many foreign people that have properties here. I don't
So
really know the law, but I've seen that there are many foreign people having properties.
so it means, is there any period of time after that you will get a nationalist? You know, for example, every country have their own heirs. If you will live over there for next 10 years, 20 years, and after that you will get national. You know,
So, like the citizenship.
Citizenship. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for correcting me.
I don't really know the procedure. I don't know, but so I couldn't. But I know that there are many. In the last years, there have been many changes, and there are more people from different countries living here, especially in Bucharest, in Timișoara, in big cities. There are like um, Indians, Chinese, so it's very cosmopolitan. It's become very cosmopolitan.
Okay. So my next question is that what are the trending topics in your country right now?
What do you mean by trending topics? Like,
Topics mean what's going on in your country. If I talk about COVID-19 situation and the people,
well, the people, so there are no wars. People are usually peaceful here, and the criminality is not high. And for the moment, the COVID situation is under control, and the school have started. There are now online classes, and I think the rate is under 1%. And I think like 40% of people are vaccinated at the moment, and there is a big vaccination campaign. Because at some point the rules were kind of strict, and I think this lowered down the rate of COVID.
Mhm.
For example, we had all the schools closed in April, so for a month. And yes.
Okay.
But
So okay. Mhm.
But what I wanted to tell you is that in big cities, there are many multinational companies, and there are many people working there. Like, for example, like I don't know, Microsoft, Oracle in Bucharest. There are people working in offices, and most of them they are not Romanian. If you talk about I don't know people working here, they are Indian, Chinese, Turkish. So in multinational companies, there's no problem if you come and work here.
Okay. So people are coming from different countries for doing
Yes.
work over there.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So it means it depends on the skill, what kind of skill you are
Yes.
having. So in that case, you can get a job over there very easily.
Yes, I think it's not much different than any in Bucharest, for example, than any capital in Europe. Maybe it's a little bit cheaper, for example, than Budapest, or I don't know. I'm talking about the capitals that are close to us, and of course, it's cheaper than France, Italy.
Okay. So what is the beautiful place in your country which you will recommend for the tourist?
First of all, I think mountains.
Mountains?
Yes, and then big cities in Transylvania, like old medieval cities.
Okay.
And there are also, if you search on YouTube, you'll find beautiful videos with castles from Romania. There are many old medieval castles. They are very charming.
Okay, I have a just last question for you. What do
Okay.
you think about the standard of education in your country?
Well, I think it's the same as in the rest of Europe, but for example, compared to UK, I think it's lower.
Slower.
Mm-hmm.
So it means like it is good. So I
Yes,
don't know what. Yeah.
yes, I think it's okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, by the way, for giving answer of my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I have a lot of questions, but I think it is enough.
You're
I
welcome.
love asking question to everyone. It is my job.
That's good. Okay.
If you want, I can ask.
More.
Yes, you are like a policeman.
Yes, because people always recommend that if you have a question, you can make your conversation longer. That's what I'm focusing on to improving, asking questions. So that is what I'm doing nowadays.
Okay. Okay, if you have any other questions.
Okay, how do I say good morning in your language?
Bună dimineața.
Oh my god.
And Romanian is a Latin language, a Romance language.
Yeah.
It has the base of the language is Latin, Vulgar Latin. So it's similar to Italian, French, Spanish, but it also has got a Slavic influence. So many people, when they try to learn it, they find it more difficult because of the Slavic influence.
Okay. So learning your language is easier than like a Spanish, do you think?
No, I think it's harder. I think it's kind of the same with Portuguese. They are a little bit difficult, more difficult than the other Romance languages. But for a Romanian, for example, it's very easy to learn French, Italian, and Spanish. For example, I'm learning Italian and I find it very similar to Romanian and I love it very much.
Okay, I think I need to be silent. People are staring at me because I think he guy has gone mad. Okay, sorry.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
guys, you can ask question to her. Please take your turn.
Okay.
Yes, I can. I have. If you want. Is there no anyone? So I have a question. Okay.
My question is about festivals, about pilgrims route, Via Marina.
What do you mean about pilgrims, like religious pilgrimage?
Yes.
There are many monasteries in Romania, especially Moldova, and usually people go and visit them. They are very old, like 15th, 16th century. So there are pilgrimages. Yes, you can go and visit, for example, like 10 monasteries or something like this. Yes. And people, I don't know, I'm used to Romanian churches and everything, but I found out that people find them very charming, especially, so Moldova is a part of the country that is very famous for the monasteries, because we have a very old monastic tradition. Yes.
Because I think that in the medieval age, monasteries like schools, they start education in monastery.
Yes. And we have the beginning of the written Romanian was done by monks. Yes, but I think this happened in most of the countries in Europe. Yeah. But there is also a big difference between Transylvania and Moldova, because Transylvania was under Austrian rule for hundreds of years, and they have this German influence. But Moldova was always under Romanian rule. So if you visit, you see that the buildings are a little bit different, the accent is a little bit different, and yes, but I think that each has its charm. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome. Any other question? Okay.
No,
I have
no,
one
sir.
question.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I did a little research. I did a little research on Romania last night, and I found out that Iranians live in one of Romanian cities.
We cannot We cannot hear you.
Can you say something about that?
We can't hear you, brother. Can you remove your mic from your cell phone? Remove your headphone from your cell phone for a while.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
So, what is the weather like in Romania? Is it sunny or rainy, or what is the average temperature?
Well, winters are kind of cold. It depends on where you live. If you live in the mountains, it's colder. But where I live, it's like the average temperature in winter is 0 degrees, and
0 degree?
in winter, yes, in winter, 0, 5,
It's very cold.
and in summer like 35 degrees. So it's become hotter. But spring and autumn are very mild.
Okay, so if I am a tourist and if I go to Romania, then in which point of the year would you recommend me to come there? In summer or winter?
If you like warm weather, hot weather, I would recommend summer. But if you like warm temperatures and less tourists, I would recommend spring or autumn. And usually autumn is very beautiful.
Okay.
Yes, like September and the beginning of October is very beautiful, and nature is very beautiful.
Okay, so Romania has mountains, and is there any sea beaches?
Yes, it's
Romania?
got mountains and it's also got seaside. It's called Black Sea, Marea Neagră.
Okay, where the people go and they sunbathe.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
I have also. Okay, you may continue.
good weather for seaside is like June, July, August, and that's it. Maybe beginning of September. That's it. So the
So is
season
there,
is.
yes,
Sorry?
it's like we have many festivals around the world like Christmas and
Yes, we celebrate Christmas. Yes, we celebrate Christmas and Easter. So we celebrate the Christian traditional holidays.
Okay, so do you celebrate any festivals that's completely unique to your region?
Not really. Mostly all the festivals we celebrate are. Sorry. Okay, so most of the festivals we celebrate are related to Christian things. For example, if you have a name that is related to a Christian saint, this is called your name day, and people usually celebrate it like they have a party, they invite friends, family.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But we also celebrate, we have 3 days like the 1st of May and some other days, different days during the year.
Okay. And last question, because I think I have asked many questions, and I will also give chance to many people. My last question is that I was seeing many dishes that you are, many traditional Romanian dishes. So can you make those? Can you make any one of those dishes in home?
Yes,
or is it just for picture?
Yes, the pictures were not taken by me. I found them on the internet. I do make some of them, but my mother helped me usually, and my mother-in-law, she knows like everything. She can cook everything traditional. I think the sweets are different are more difficult to make, but the others I don't find them difficult. But if you go to restaurants, people say, I don't know, I've talked to foreigners and they say the food is very tasty, especially the meat. So they like it. Mm-hmm.
Well, do you have sweets? Like
Yes.
Sweet. Okay, in many countries, the sweets are like the Cadbury